Hello amigos, this is V Harper, and I would love to welcome you to Halloween 2014. Now, to kick off this wonderful month, I've decided to review 3 movies from a particular director that has unofficially been called the Apocalypse Trilogy. Now, these films are The Thing, The Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. Today, we are looking at The Thing from 1982 by the one, the only, John Carpenter. Now, upon its release, The Thing was mercilessly spanked, right? Because a couple of months earlier, E.T. had come out, and all the world was wrapped up in E.T. fever. There was the merchandise, there were the packed screens, there was everything. The marketing for E.T. was unsurpassed, and that was all thanks to Steven Spielberg's savvy. Really, he started it all with Jaws, the way he just marketed that movie and got everybody anticipated, just waiting for this film to come out. So E.T. did fabulously well. However, a couple of months later, when John Carpenter released his film, The Thing, it was all but forgotten, if not spanked like a red-haired stepchild. Now, I can understand that from a critical perspective, because a couple of months earlier, like, the whole audience was optimistic and just so enchanted by E.T. about this cute little alien that just wanted to make friends and go back home, and, you know, something so cute yet so ugly. And yet when The Thing came out, it was all about, essentially, the end of days. So yeah, The Thing was not very positively well received at all. However, as time went on, and as home video sales skyrocketed, as did The Thing's popularity. And that, my friends, is what brings us to this review. Alright, so rather than give you a detailed synopsis about The Thing, I'm going to talk about the various themes that turn up in the movie, because trust me, there are multitudes of them. When you connect these thematic elements with the fact that this film deals with a figurative apocalypse, it becomes all the more terrifying. Because what would you do if you woke up one day and you found yourself being assimilated by an alien parasite? That is, if you even knew that you were being assimilated at all. That's one of the best things about this movie, is that it dwells upon the power of uncertainty, and it just gets under your skin and burrows and gets all the way in there into your muscular fibers and in your nerve endings and shreds them all apart. I mean, this film is not subtle, because it has tons of gore, but in my opinion, the gore and all the fantastical visuals is what helps gives this film the edge. And to me, and perhaps to quite a few of you out there, this is perhaps John Carpenter's most masterful and well-crafted film. He's had quite a few hits in the past, like obviously Halloween and The Fog, Escape from New York. Lately, his resume hasn't been looking too attractive, but back in the late 70s to late 80s, he was on a roll. And for good reason. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to structure a good film and, like, give you these engaging characters. You don't have to know about these characters so intimately, but what he presents you with is enough to see you through. In the case of The Thing, it involves like 12 very sort of isolated men who are together in a research base. Now, despite living in close proximity with each other, they really don't know nothing much else. I mean, you don't get the impression that they've cared to, you know, sit down and talk to each other and really bond. And that's a very sort of relatable thought, because I'm sure all of us have been in that situation when we are surrounded by people who we work with or who we associate with, but we don't feel we know them as well as we should. And to a degree, do we want to? Okay, now, getting back to the theme of The Thing, it all comes back to the fact that, you know, that this creature, this life form, this extraterrestrial organism, it it's indescribable. It's not something that we as a human species can comprehend. And if we can't understand it, what chance do we have to fighting it? And the Thing does not resolve this, okay? Because at the end, like, there is no resolution. We can assume that Kurt Russell's character, MacReady, has done away with the Thing, but throughout the entire flick, this creature is able to call upon the most amazing of survival instincts. Say if you cut off its head, it will grow legs and scuttle away. Every bit of the Thing that you cut off, that you think you've destroyed, is actually living on. And as it attaches itself to brand new life forms, it starts to feed, it starts to gain shape. It's able to call upon, whatever amazing biology it has swimming in through its system, and it's able to become whatever it wants. And that's a really frightening concept to me. Can you imagine what sort of apocalypse that would be? I'd rather not. The performances in the film are amazing. That goes without saying. None of the actors are particularly big name. Well, they weren't at the time. Kurt Russell is very well known these days, as well as Keith David, who is also the voice of Spawn, the one and only voice of Spawn, I should add. Then you have Wilford Brimley, Diabetes. And you have quite a few very talented character actors who managed to take these very vague individuals and imbue them with a sense of identity. It doesn't really come down whether or not you truly care for them, but you begin to identify them and you know who is who. You start to wonder, who can hold accountability for, the terrible things that happen on this base. But another part of the Thing that really does hold up is the fact that while it isn't afraid to shy away from the gore and the gru and all that yummy stuff, there's this wonderful sequence in which Kurt Russell's character explores a Norwegian neighbouring camp. Because this whole film takes place in the Antarctic, okay, so one of the most isolated places on Earth. So he trucks down to the Norwegian camp and he sees that it's in disarray. We don't see what happened, we only see the aftermath. And even then, it's very suggested, implied. The most gory thing we see is a man who's frozen in a chair, long dead, who has slit his wrists, and the blood has frozen midway flow out of his body. The visuals in this movie... Sorry, I'll start again. The visuals in this movie are amazing, and it's no small part due to Rob Bottin, and he was in charge of all the special makeup and creature effects and all those wonderful, gorgeous things you see. Bottin was 21 years old at the time, and he reportedly never got a week of sleep. Well, maybe he did get a little bit of sleep, but not enough to, make him a fully functioning human being. I mean, afterwards, John Carpenter noticed that he was, exhausted beyond belief, and he was like, hey man, you need to sleep. But Bottin's commitment, as well as the work of his assistants and all the crew, really does pay off. It's amazing how brilliant a film can be when it has all the right people working together and getting stuff done. Because when you think about it, the Thing is just a B-grade creature feature on paper. You have 12 characters, none of them are very well defined, and you have a monster taking them out one by one, or assimilating them in this case, devouring them and spreading paranoia throughout the others. But the way Carpenter has made it, the way he has constructed the events of the movie, the actors, the bloody climate, the background of the film, one of the most desolate, isolated places on the planet. This is the setting of one of the greatest terrors to ever be experienced by humanity. And you really can't get any more frightening than that. I guess if you want to get philosophical about it, the Thing represents the beast inside of us. The beast that wants to change us, to mold us to its beautiful, ugly, nasty stuff. I don't know where I was going with that, I'm sorry. But the Thing has a very sort of philosophical edge to it, something that relates to Freud, and perhaps a bit of Carl Jung. I'm not a psychoanalytical student, but I do realise that when it comes to horror films, all of them relate back to human insecurity, to our fears, to things that keep us awake at night, to things that make us look off in the darkness and think we see something there. Humans have always been afraid of what they don't know. And even now, there's only so much science can account for. And with The Thing, what can something like science do against something so powerful, something so out of this world that it is sure to overcome us all? So, yeah, The Thing is an amazing film. It is not just one of the best horror science fiction films, it's one of the best ones out there. And as I said, this is one of John Carpenter's favourite movies. He has said this himself. And you can see why he took its initial failure so hard, because he worked so much on this movie. Everyone who was present believed in what they were doing. And for it to just get swept under the rug the way it did back in 1982, it must have been heartbreaking. But that's the beauty of VHS, and that is the beauty of the word of mouth. I feel if this film hadn't had the benefit of VHS, I don't think it would have had the longevity that it developed over the years. I'm not a student of film or anything, but I like to believe that it is because of word of mouth, and because of people realizing the greater message behind this movie, seeing it more than just the schlock fest it was initially written off as. That is one of the best compliments that you can pay a film. So, John Carpenter, you may not be who you were, but by God, you made a brilliant movie. I will see you some other time, and I shall be back with Prince of Darkness. Oh yeah, The Thing, 5 out of 5, not gonna lie, awesome. See you later.